Hi, I'm Tess,
Hi, I'm Sarah, and we are.
the Happy Edit Sisters. Happiness isn't just being happy, it's an embodied feeling that starts with how we approach life, our actions, and our mindset. Everyone has a range of emotions, and that's a good thing.
Join us as we dive into what it means to be happy and how we build a foundation for happiness through different lenses.
Hi, Sarah.
Tess, how are you?
I am doing really well. It has been a lovely day today so far. So I cannot complain. It was supposed to be raining all day, which technically we really need that rain, but I'm gonna be going for a walk. I'm gonna walk to the new house here after this, and I'd prefer not to do that in the rain. So I'm quite happy it's not raining.
Makes it a lot better, doesn't it? Kind of walking up to the house.
It does, yeah, that hour walk in the rain is preferable not.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you can have some of our rain if you want to. We've not had a very nice week, I don't think. It's or maybe it has been. It's been very wet and windy, and it's snowing in places. It completely missed us. So it's snowing all around Manchester and then missed Manchester,
Well, there you go.
which I'm a bit gutted about. I love the snow.
Well, I'm sure it'll come for you eventually.
Hopefully.
So I am so excited today because we are going to talk about the sense of sight. And to kind of dive into that, we have a wonderful guest here, a friend of mine and illustrator, Kiyary. Kiyary is a mestiza artist and illustrator with native Peruvian, Spanish, and English ancestry. She grew up in the United States and currently lives in Asturias, which is where I met her. um, Kiyary has a deep passion for learning, painting, and moving places. Her constant changes in environment led her to reflect on the importance of identity, home, and human relationships with nature and the inner self. So I am incredibly excited to have Kiyary on the podcast today. Her work is amazing. She will give us a little bit more information about that, but there's going to be links to see her portfolio and her work in the show notes. Please go check them out because they're fantastic. And yeah, welcome, Kiyary.
Hi, oh, thank you, Tess. Thank you, Sarah, for having me today. I am thrilled and I'm a bit nervous, I guess. But it's so much fun to have a nice chat about happiness, about, well, this time, I guess, art, a little bit of art. So I'm always happy to talk about art and creating things with your hands. So great.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to have you on, Kiyari. It really is. Would it be okay if you kind of tell us a little bit more about you? I know Tess did that lovely introduction, but is there anything else that you'd like to tell us?
Um, well, basically, I'm I'm an artist, and I guess like every artist, we are a bit obsessed with making something, like either with our hands or bodies. There is performance art, there are different types of art. So we are basically, we just want to create or transmit a message, right? We have this need of saying something or giving something out to the world. So I guess I am a compulsive creative person. And that's about it.
I love that. How long have you been painting professionally?
Professionally, for more than 14 years, I believe.
Okay.
But launching or focusing on one type of art and one type of industry, not long, really. More like I'm about to be a year, like really centering myself on one type of art form, because I was always trying new mediums, because I think curiosity in the human mind is just what drives you to do or try different things, right? Instead of just settling for a job or what the standard in society asks you to, we are usually trying to dive into other realms to try to find an outside of the box solution to things. So just focusing on one thing to make it work, more like a year, like just for example, the medium I use now, it's oils. Before I was trying different mediums. The format now, I have it like clear what type of format I want, what type of concept or message I want to transmit also. So it does help, because before, even though I will, get commissions or work professionally as an artist, I was taking different kind of jobs or commissions in art, but it was too broad. So you have to narrow it and just follow that path and get to see where that takes you. I think it
Yeah,
also helps to move forward.
I totally agree. And I think that this has not just, this has a lot of truth in a lot of industries, right? Not just in art. Like I know
Yeah.
as a coach and a yoga therapist, like having a sort of focus of what people know, that like obviously I can help them in lots of different ways, but people will say, oh, if you're dealing with stress and burnout, you like definitely go to Tess because that's her, her niche. And I think that can be really helpful to just get as you're saying, get your name out there, have people know you for something specific.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I do. And I suppose I was just thinking then about the work that I do as a therapist. And I think I still am quite broad in the work that I do, but I think quite often I work with quite complex cases, lots of trauma. And I think that's kind of maybe where my kind of thinking and my line of work has kind of moved towards. Um, yeah, so it's really interesting, isn't it? Is that we kind of maybe think quite big and then narrow back down, and that's in so many different fields. So from art and creative work to coaching, yoga, that therapy. It's really interesting.
Yeah. That is, yeah, it's definitely, meaningful when something is, it's easy, like you said, Tess goes for this, then you go to Tess, right? This person goes to that thing, then you go to a specific thing. So if you niche down to what you are also your strengths, it also helps. Not only people from outside, but it also helps you channel your energy towards the like the more productive part, the more efficient way where you can help or where you can produce, in my case, or in your case, guys, how you can help others.
Yeah. And I think also like I think a lot of us come to it fairly naturally, right? Like as Sarah was saying, she's noticed over time that she focused on complex trauma. And I think a lot of times we go to those things that we're drawn to most and we're able, we feel passionate about. And you're able to kind of delve into that a little bit deeper and really understand that a little bit better. Instead of being a jack of all trades, you're really that focused expert in that situation. And I think that this is so true with art as well. I mean, obviously lots of artists do lots of different things, but as you said earlier, you're really able to really kind of explore your formatting in that and sort of see what you're able to do within in the art. So I think that that's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah. Well,
Would you?
I guess going into the into the therapy world of really traumatic experience must be a tough decision. I don't think everyone is able to handle such a thing, actually. For most people, I don't think will be, yes, I think I can do that. It wouldn't be like the easiest choice to make, but I think it requires quite certain level of not only self-awareness but also bravery, right? You have to be brave to undertake such a challenging I don't know, I don't think it's a job, but such a challenging occupation, right? Like I'm going to do this kind of thing, and I think it has a very heavy toll on your own mind,
Yeah,
dealing with
yeah. And
it's
I think I suppose it's important for me to be able to kind of engage in other things as well. So things that I would do. So I'm sort of creative. I'm not that creative, but I like things like going to the gym and kind of going out for walks and being out in nature. So kind of bringing in those other senses.
yeah.
I really try to be creative. So creative. So as a therapist, I would working with children. I would like to do maybe drawing, painting, some creative things. But I know there's lots of therapists that I work with who a lot of art therapists actually,
Yeah.
and drama therapists, and that the work that they can do around trauma is amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Well, there is a specialization on art therapy because, of course, art in general, I mean, it's a way of self-expression, but it can also help you to do some emotional release, right? Like you can release whatever you have inside. Actually, I guess everyone who does some kind of creative job is releasing something from inside, right? But everything that you have inside is also it's like a translation. It's like you get images from different areas or from different inspirations or media, or maybe you see a father with their daughter or a sister holding hands in the hospital, and then there are images that you take and then you transform them inside and then you put them out again. So basically the artist is just translator of the human experience, with a doses of course self-reflection, thinking about what you're making, and art therapy can do wonders for people who maybe can't express certain things in a more common way, like language, right? Like written or oral language. So maybe sometimes even making pottery or something with your building a three-dimensional form can help you release certain things that you have inside. So yeah,
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, isn't it? How there's like all these different ways that we're able to connect with our senses, and use these different tools because it's not just one way, right? There's not only one way to work through these things, and everyone is different, and that's why we have all of these different modalities we've realized that we can turn to, we can use. And art therapy, as you say, is one of those ways, especially when, maybe the verbalization isn't the best way for that person. And so I'm going to kind of take this step a little bit back into the senses, what we originally we kind of got off a little track here, but this is great. Like, I love this. But so your paintings in general are, from what I've seen of your paintings, they're super colorful.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're absolutely stunning.
Thank
And
you.
so I'm curious to know, like, this color, does it, what draws you to that color? Why, it kind of going on the same idea, like, you take in something from around you and then you put it back out.
So
What does color do for you for that?
So I see color as a way of communication, and there is also symbolism in color. I mean, this goes back, like, since we started creating shapes, right? We will, the first things we will, before maybe before written language, we were drawing already. We were doing shapes on caves, so we were not writing, but we were creating pictograms, images of what we see. And as soon as the first colors, they will get like ochre, you know, because of it's a natural color, and then red from flowers or from insects. I don't know the English name for this one, but well, doesn't matter. And these earthy colors were the first, and then as time evolved, and then of course more discoveries were made. You have the blues, the yellows, and from minerals. I mean, blues are beautiful from minerals, and they were very expensive. And then there are other colors that are associated with different things, like purple was associated with royalty or nobility, because it was very expensive to get, right? So, and the blue also was also very expensive, and it was also associated with the divine or the big things, right? Like ocean, the sky, big things. The earthy colors were more mundane or ordinary, but because it was more accessible. And I take all the colors I can get my hands on, and it's nuts. I have, I think, more paint tubes because I have them right next to me. I can see them. Then I have clothes, I think. And I just see color as a way to communicate energy, and also because we vibrate differently with different colors. And also, if you put one color next to a color, I mean, there is a whole science. There is art theory with colors, color theory, and I have a color wheel in front of me, like everywhere. So basically, it's a communicating tool, not only just maybe a style, but a statement. Because sometimes, especially here in Asturias, where it's quite a bit gray sometimes and it rains a lot, I miss the vibrancy of colors. You know, the very strong sunset or sunrise with pink skies or orange. So I want to put those colors in my work. So when someone looks at them, they smile, or they be like, oh, you know, they have a different reaction than when you see a whole grayish, darks, and muted colors, you know. I mean, muted painting, a grayish painting can also communicate very well if the values are correct, but I'm trying to look for one. I'm just trying to find one. I have paintings hung. But they transmit something different than one painting that has a higher difference in chroma or in values, and well, more than in values, in chroma, in color, right? Like I have many things that are just very intense in colors, just to be more cheerful. It also depends on who you are approaching, or who are you trying to connect with when you use different gamut of colors. So, yeah.
It's fascinating. It really is. And it kind of made me think about like color theory just then. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of that before. So I'm like, oh, I really want to find out what color theory is about, and kind of those vibrations that you were talking about then, and how that's maybe connected to our emotions, and maybe those feelings of happiness, and
Yeah.
you know, and obviously other feelings as well.
Yeah, like I mean, red is a very strong color. For example, we associate it with obviously passion, blood, these kind of things. And also many flags have red, many flags have blue. I mean, there is a whole language in color. And yellows are happier because sunlight, you know, the whole thing. Orange also, and also is connected more with childhood. Different things associate different things. Then if you use blue in a kitchen, then you are less hungry. I mean, they have a psychological impact, you know. The lights in a restaurant can tell you if that restaurant wants you to stay or eat and leave immediately, you know. If the lights are more towards the warm lights, like an Italian restaurant or these sorts, then you stay because they want you to enjoy your meal calmly. Then the lights in a fast food restaurant are cold lights because they want you to eat and go and next client, please. So, I mean, if we start analyzing color in everything, it can get quite deep. Also, what choices you make about the colors that you surround with or that you will dress with, right? It's very, for me, ironic because I love color, and if it was warmer, I will wear all the colors on myself, but I usually dress in black because when I paint, the light that falls on me reflects on my canvas or on my paper. So I needed to absorb the light so I won't reflect another color. If I was wearing red, I don't have anything red. Okay, here. If I was wearing something reddish and the light falls on me, then the reflection will be into a reddish kind of light, You see,
Yeah.
this white cube will be turned reddish and now gray.
So just for everyone that's listening, Kiyary has this sort of a red orangish painting that she has, and she has a white cube, so a white canvas right above it. And what she was showing was that when she had the red orange painting underneath it, as she said, that the color of the reflection was a bit more orange, whereas when she took it away and it was just against her black shirt, it was more of that gray background. And this is fascinating, absolutely fascinating to think about, right? Because we don't necessarily, while our eyes might be processing this and our brain, unconsciously will be processing these things, we're not necessarily focusing on that. So it's really interesting that you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
Well,
it made me just
yeah.
oh sorry it made me just think then about what you said about like the colors in our environment. So if living in Asturias, it can be quite grey, especially in like the winter months and stuff. And obviously, as a therapist, I work with people who may have something called seasonal affective disorder, which is mainly in the winter months. And that's associated quite often with the lack of vitamin D. But actually, because it is darker in the winter months, that they're absorbing that darker, kind of more kind of grey kind of environment, aren't they? Those grey colours. And how often do people in the winter, when we have a lovely sunny day, like, oh, I feel so much better today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the weather definitely affects the brain, and the weather helps intensify the colors. So a painter who paints in the north of Spain or in London doesn't use the same colors that a painter who paints in the south of Spain or in Madrid or in any other in California. The colors that we use are different because the weather affects the colors because of the light, and what we get as a painting also affects visually. Well, visually you see it differently, obviously, but the reaction of the person who sees one painting from the other is different. And just, I mean, it's crazy. Our brain does the whole job and we just don't realize it, and unless you stop and think and you're like, that's right. Like, just like why if you want to impress or make a statement to go to a room or a dinner, you wear the most, I don't know, the red dress, and you make a statement with that, or red high heels, right? It's a very strong color. But also you could use white. I mean, that's a beautiful, peaceful, calm. Well, white is will be the mix of all the colors, right, in color theory. But, well, I don't know. I find it very fascinating, the whole color world. But I know it can be maybe a bit too much for a normal conversation.
I think that you made a really good point, right? We go through all of these things. Our brain does it all unconsciously. But when we take that moment to stop and pause and observe these things, we're able to notice how these colors affect us, how that visual connection to the light, right? To the qualities of light, to the different colors that we surround ourselves in. And to, as you say, if you're wanting to make a statement, if you're wanting to sort of have that bold moment, maybe lift yourself up, maybe you're wearing that red dress or those red heels, right? Just give yourself that little bit extra power, and just sort of observing how we not only we are able to use the color around us to support how we feel, but also using that color to like kind of boost us up when we're feeling maybe a little bit down, a little bit low.
As
Like
a
I know
tool.
me as a tool, exactly. Whether that's in painting or that's in the color of the clothing you wear or the surroundings. Like, I mean, Sarah mentioned spending time in nature as well,
Yeah.
right? We know that the color green is very calming.
Yeah.
And being in those green environments, in nature, is very beneficial for our mental health. Not only just because if you're in the nature, you're able to listen to the sounds, you're using your different senses, but having those different textures of green really help stimulate the relaxation response in the body. Even just by looking at
Yeah.
pictures of like green trees and plants, like that's beneficial. So it's really interesting what you're saying, right? Because if we're able just to take that time to pause and notice what boosts us up, what gives us that extra energy, that extra, you know, joyful or self-confidence or whatever it
Yeah.
is, we can build that into our daily life.
Well, it is true that some colors can be subjective also to culture and religion. Like I know with mourning in Europe, in Western culture, we dress in black, but in China, they dress in white. So, I mean, we have to also take into account that, right? The cultural background. So, in general,
Yeah.
yes, we have these general ideas of the color, but also it differs a bit depending on the culture, right? Also, I guess depends on the access to the colors back then when they were starting to get massively produced. So maybe for one part of the world, it was easier to get certain color than the other. So that also can lead to a different interpretation of the color or what you wear or why you use this color on these specific things.
Yeah, definitely, right? Our cultural awareness, our cultural perception, definitely, I'm going to say colors purposely here, but colors are our experience. And I think that that's really fascinating that you bring that up, right? Because so often we just think of our own culture, but as someone that has also traveled around quite a bit, the
Yeah.
color definitely changes, right? Like, and
Yeah.
depending on what our background is, if we go into a certain situation and there's all this color around, you might feel super overwhelmed,
Yeah.
whereas someone else goes, "Oh no, this is like a nice calming thing." Or this means something completely different. And so I think it's a really good thing to point out that not everyone is going to view these things the same way, whether that's because of personal preference or that's because of, that cultural conditioning that we have.
Yeah. Yeah,
Fascinating,
that's
isn't
very
it?
true.
Um, so I have a question for you about color. Is there a favorite color that you like that helps you like kind of lift you up when you're feeling maybe a bit down?
Yellow. I try to get everything yellow for some reason. Yes. I really like yellow. I have like 8, 10, 12 different yellows here. But like going from the lightest yellow to almost orangey, just because I like yellow. But I think it lifts me up because it reminds me of the sun. So you know, the whole sun is necessary for us to I don't know, for many things. It's even necessary. I mean, if it's necessary for plants and crops, it's definitely necessary for us. And it lifts me up, it makes me happy, makes me think of warm places. But I could say that now it's my favorite color, but maybe there was a time that it was more like green, also white, you know, depends. But yellow will be now like my favorite thing, which was also Van Gogh's favorite color, which is funny. Van Gogh's
Yes, I was
favorite
actually
color
just
was,
thinking that.
yeah,
I was like, oh,
yellow,
I
I
can
believe.
think of another famous artist that used a lot of yellow.
Yeah, he did use a lot of yellow, and it was and it's still very expensive. He used cadmium yellow, so it's like something like this. And well, that one's a light one, but yeah, it was very expensive, and he used it widely, and he didn't stop using it. And he painted with such love for everything he saw, which was it's very inspiring to know how and to read about how he tried to capture what he saw with more than, you know, his eyes, but how he felt about what he saw.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I
Do you
translated
guys?
a book
Oh.
called Anecdotes of Impressionism.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's anecdotes about the different impressionist painters. And that's where I learned what I know about Van Gogh, really. And
Oh,
it was fascinating to me to learn about, you know, sort of his story. And because you look at his paintings and it's, as you say, they're beautiful and there's so much love in them. But then you
yeah,
hear like his background and how there was like a lot of difficulty in his life
yeah,
and a lot of mental illness
a lot of trauma,
struggles.
yes. And he started painting when he was 39, I believe. So, I mean, after trying different things, different paths, right? He wanted to be a priest, didn't work. He wanted to be an art merchant, mm, didn't work.
No.
And at the end, his brother was his art merchant, and his brother was supporting him a lot. And well, Van Gogh wasn't the easiest to live with either. He was a bit problematic, you know, and well, but he discovered art later, in very late in his life, because one teacher told him what he was doing wasn't right. So sometimes also finding the right mentor, you know, the right
Hmm.
advice can help you find your path faster, or can guide you in a better way, or can destroy you completely. You know, a comment from someone can actually take you down completely to another path that you didn't want, you know. So it's I don't know, I mean, especially because you don't know the sensibility of the other person. I think just like with art, with any other thing, right? But I don't know,
Made
do
me
you guys
think.
have a favorite color?
Mine's red, I think.
Red.
Mm,
Nice.
yeah, I love
Purple
red.
and green.
Yeah,
I was thinking that you would like purple, and red is a quite a strong color. It's a very nice color.
yeah, I
I
love
also
red.
enjoy red a lot. Is it like
Yeah.
more like a like blood color of red, or like more
Probably,
orangey
probably,
red,
probably like these reds are quite a
like a
dark.
deep red? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
nice.
Very
yeah.
passionate red.
Yeah, very strong
I
color. He must have
think
strong personality.
I like strong colors, so I like strong greens and blues as well.
Hmm.
I'm not, I kind of go away from the pastel colors.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
What?
I no, I mean, I find it interesting,
Hmm.
you know, when people choose their color, but sometimes I'm more surprised when someone doesn't know what's their favorite color. You know, it's surprising, but it
Hmm.
can happen. Some people don't think about it, and
Definitely. No, definitely. What you were saying before then about people might say something that might kind of influence their path, and maybe it made
Mm.
me think about my dad. So my dad's really creative, and
Oh,
he paints and he makes jewelry and carves things. I mean, he does all sorts of things, and he always has done. And when he was at primary school, so like less than younger than 11, he did a picture and he painted the sky green and the grass blue. And the teacher
mhm.
came over and was like, Martin, that's not right. Why have you done that? Why have you done that? That's not right. And he remembers clearly being told this, and it really put him off kind of going into art and creative work.
Oh man.
And then he actually did the picture. He painted the picture when he's as like recently, actually in the last 5 or 6 years, of this
Wow.
picture of the sky being green and the grass being blue, and he wrote something on it. Like I think he's put the teacher in the picture as well. And I think it says, does it? I can't remember. Have you seen it, Tess? Does it say the
Yeah.
sky's not green and the grass isn't blue or something like that on it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's hanging in the house, isn't it? I was trying to remember exactly what was written on it too. But yeah, very much like a giving the
It's
bird to
it,
to the teacher for sure. Like
it's
let's
oh man, it's I mean, I'm very sorry for because I think art teachers depends on the art teacher, of course, because I was also an art teacher, and it's not just I'm going to teach you how to hold crayons or how to use tempera or wash or whatever, but uh, it's a visual language. So if the kid wants to paint the grass blue and the sky green, there might be a reason for him or her, a mental reason thing, a choice that he's taking a choice on that, and you have to respect it. You cannot just say, hey, this is wrong. It's like when they're teaching how to draw a flower and everyone is copying the flower, the like the number three, and flip the number three and there's a flower. But let the kid make their own iconography of the flower. Why are you
Mhm.
limiting this creative mind? If it's the first time they are making this, don't show them how.
Mm.
Ask them to show you how, because it might surprise you the results. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, finding a good mentor, it's can be either empowering or debilitating.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So we're coming up to the end of the episode, and first off, this has just been a hugely interesting episode for me and learning a lot. So thank
Mhm.
you so much for that. And hopefully the listeners have got that too. But at the end of every episode, we like to offer our listeners a happy edit tool, something small that they can do to bring a little bit more happiness into their life. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners, something small that you think that they could bring into their life this week to try out?
Um, when we talk on the phone, we always make these doodles, or not,
Hmm.
maybe not always, but I think I find it as a releasing tool also when you're talking on the phone, just to grab a pen and have a little notepad next to you and start making doodles while you're talking or you're listening to something. Just grab a pen and create something with your hands. It might Something might come out, or something might also tell you about what is going on inside you, right? Like, depending on the type of scribbles that you do, can also it can also say what's going on in you. If you are trying to solve a problem, if you're making circles, or if you're a bit stressed, you're making straight lines. So also, this kind of what is this? Yeah, it's not a written language, but it's a visual language. It's you're releasing something. So this can maybe help people to release a little bit when, they don't have to sit. And of course, my best advice would be go out and paint what you see in front of you and just let it go. But it's quite a big challenge for someone if they are not used to go and paint. But trying to do a little scribble from time to time can help you release something that is inside.
I love that. It's amazing, isn't it? It's great. Doing a little squiggle.
My best scribbles at school were always during math.
Was they all circular?
My notebook was just filled with little scribbles and doodles.
Of the
So now I'm
classmates
going to
or
think
your
about that a little
teacher?
bit more. Oh, I mean, loads. Whatever came to mind. Sometimes it was drawing my teacher, another classmate across the room, or
Oh,
just
cool.
whatever came into my mind. That was, it was like I was most creative, I think, during
Really? Wow.
class, which is really funny
very
because I
fascinating.
didn't enjoy it. So now I'm trying to think of what was coming up, like what was I trying to work through there.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thought. Thank you for that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ponder that now.
Yeah, try it. Yeah, our minds are, not working at one thing at a time. Sometimes they're working subconsciously at something else. And that's like the mechanical part, right? It's trying to release something. Well, you might be thinking of something else and you're like, oh, I'm doing this. So well, it's been quite fun, interesting experience.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Having me.
It's been a pleasure.
And so before we go, is there
Hmm.
any way that the listeners can connect with you, find out a little bit more about your work and where?
Oh, yeah, sure. To connect with me, I guess will be Instagram with my name, Kiyary, Kiyary, or on my website, which is the same, kiyary.com. And I'm always happy to answer about color stuff or art-related things. And I try to share a little insight on my daily work life as an artist and hope to inspire people to go out and paint and, release something that they have inside while making a visual image of that.
Yeah, I love your Instagram because there's so many beautiful colors and it's just so fun to see what you do. I'm on there all the time. So everyone else, come join me. Thank you once again so much for coming on. We will have the links to all of that stuff in the show notes as well. So if everyone was like, I heard it, but I didn't, don't worry, go to the show notes, you'll find it there. And Kiyary, thank you. I know that this is your first podcast episode that you've done. So we're super excited that we can be a part of that with you.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for being my first time in this world of podcasting. And it's been fun. It wasn't painful. It was good. It was fun. It was nice. And Sarah, you've been a lovely person, like so dear, also with your comments. So nice. And also it's quite nice to see a different perspective, like how you guys take a different a different kind of world and you try to connect it to yours.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
At the Happy Edit podcast, we're mindful that the podcast is not in replacement of therapy. If you do need further support, please do contact us on our contact details in the show notes. And we're more than happy to offer further support and guidance and direct you to places like the counselling directory or therapy directories. If you do also need further support, we would also recommend you contacting your primary healthcare provider. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.